Hello, hello, and welcome to Event Mastery Summit 2020. You are in the Let's Milkshake It Up, a summer all-YAP event session presented by myself, Monique Harp, certified referral trainer and realtor. Today, before we get started, I want everyone to know that this is pre-recorded so that I can participate in the comments section as the session goes on, and I'll be there to answer any questions. Everyone should have a copy of the slides or at least a link to access the slides. If you don't, reach out in the chat and I'll get you the link. So today we are going to go over a milkshake event that I do for my sphere in Norfolk. And I'm going to go into great detail, and my goal is for you to be able to walk away from this session and plan your own event or a similar event. And just to track back to the PowerPoints, I will not be using them the whole time, but when I do, when I don't, you'll still be able to follow along. So to get started, I am Monique Harp. I'm a realtor in Norfolk, Virginia, and I've been implementing 7L strategies for about 2 years now. My favorite strategies are network stacking, letter writing, and events. In particular, I like to do all-YAP events, which for those who haven't attended Event Mastery, all-YAP events are events that you can invite your entire database to. So this is an example of an all-YAP event that you can do in the summertime, or, I mean, if you live in Arizona, you can do it all year round, I guess. So let's get started. I did the milkshake event, which I hold at a place called the Cookout in my town, and they have 40 plus milkshake flavors. And the reason I chose it is because I don't have to make the milkshakes. I just have to show up and bring my people. So it's a come and go event, think kind of like happy hour style. I love ice cream, so that's why I picked this. People can come and go, or they can stay and linger at their choosing. And then in terms of results that I got when I did this, I've done this 2 years in a row. My first year, I had 15 people raise their hand and say that they were interested in buying or selling a home. And to date, I believe I've closed 3 of those. And I'm still nurturing the rest of them. And then from this year, I had 4 leads that I will continue to nurture until that they are ready to make a move in real estate. And so that's just a little bit of like the results that you can maybe expect from your sphere. If you have a bigger sphere, maybe you'll get more business. So let's dive into the slides really quick. What I want to show you is the plan. So in planning, you really could plan one of these in like 10 minutes, not full execution, but you can get the details in about 10 minutes. First thing you need to do is figure out what event do you want to do. I obviously did milkshakes, but if you like something else, you can do something else. You can do a happy hour. You can do a pretzel event. You could do a slushy event, like a Sonic. You can do a funnel cake event. I know Aiden's doing that. So there's all different things you can do. I would recommend to keep it around under like $5 or $6 so that it's relatively inexpensive. Then you can pick a date. I'm super cheesy, so I picked for my first year, I picked National Chocolate Milkshake Day, which was Thursday, September 12th. And the time, I only do a 2-hour time frame. It works with my schedule. It's very convenient. It's really quick. And by the time it fully starts, it's almost over and people have a good time. They're in and they're out. Then you pick a location. Like I said, I picked a Cookout. It's a chain in my area. So if one wasn't available, I could go to a different one. Then you need sponsors. Don't overthink your sponsors. Keep it simple. And I'll go into sponsorship in a second. But I use a lender, a home inspector, and a photographer. I highly, highly, highly recommend getting a professional photographer to be a sponsor. Just because the photos are so much nicer for Facebook and social media and other types of print marketing. And normally they're pretty receptive. And then last but not least, pick a charity of your choice. And I recommend picking a charity that you can collect something for or that is inexpensive. So for example, we collected socks for the homeless, used or gently used socks for the homeless. One time I've collected toothpaste and toothbrushes for the homeless. Sensory items. If you like pets, maybe you can collect pet treats or something of that nature. But the list is limitless when you start thinking about the little things that you can donate to make a difference. So another area I think you guys would be most interested in is how much does this cost me and or my sponsors? So it is $3 per milkshake. I ask all my sponsors to sponsor $1 per milkshake up to $100 and a $50 door prize. So the first year I had 2 sponsors. The second year I had 3 sponsors, and they each paid less than $43 a piece for those leads that I mentioned in the beginning. If your RSVP list gets greater than 100, just ask your sponsors, like, hey, do we want to cap this or do we want to go higher? So ultimately, the first year I did pay. I paid $43. The second year, I didn't pay a dime because I had the 3 sponsors. So it's very cost effective for everybody. So let's go into the invitations. So I used Eventbrite for my invitations, and for my communications, I used Evite, and I have started to use Eventbrite. So either one works very well. I will recommend to provide as much detail as possible, because the people who don't care about the details, they'll use the little section, and people who want the details will read the big section. But invite, communicate. That is the major part of planning this event. So what you want to do, you want to send out your invitation. You want to follow up like in a week with a text, and then maybe the following week you send a video talking about your sponsors or talking about your charity. And then another week you send a different update. So first you talk about sponsors, then you talk about the charity, or vice versa. And then the last week you want to get headcount and make sure you're prepared for the number of people who plan to attend, and really just to remind them that it is happening, because people like to commit and not show up, but it's only because they have so much on their plate that they forget what's going on. So after that, you want to think about your event flow, and what are people going to do when they come to your event? What are they going to do while they're there? So one thing I like to do, I love to promote my sponsors and bring awareness to the charity as much as possible, all the way through, from the first invitation to the last follow-up email or text message. So on the day of my event, I schedule an email to go out to everyone who is RSVP'd yes or maybe, and I give them specific directions on what to expect. So we always tell them what's next. Everybody wants to know what's next. So I send a message, and it says, hey, when you get here, when you arrive, be sure to check in with so-and-so from the mortgage company, which is our sponsor. Then make sure, then drop off your donation with Robert. That was my home inspector, and Chris was my mortgage person. Drop off your donation with Robert, and then come see me to get your milkshake ticket, because that ticket is what they're going to turn into the restaurant so that they can get their milkshake, and then we'll pay for it at the end. And then of course we have the sponsor, the photography sponsor, and so we say, oh, make sure you smile for Lainey, our photographer. And so everybody gets advertised, and then also they did a door prize entry form, which I'll show you later, because that is key in collecting your referrals and contact information during the event. Because when people come and talk to you, it's not going to be for a long period of time. They're just going to come and go, get their ticket and take their kids and get ice cream. So that really helps paint the picture of what to expect. And I did the first year, I had milkshake bingo sheets, but the second year I didn't because of COVID. We just gave them their drinks and they left. Maybe a little bit stayed, but most people just left right away. And then I want to show you some things from the event setup, only because oftentimes people overthink things. So I just want to show how simple and basic some of my craftsmanship was. So you see I have a door prize entry bottle. On the left, that's a protein bottle that I cut a hole in. Then I had 2 poster boards, which is 1 poster board cut in half that I just real quick with a Sharpie drew on it and printed out some like socks images. And in the bottom left is my golden ticket. And all that is an index card with a sticker on it that asks for their name and their flavor. And the reason I ask for the name and the flavor is because when I do my thank you notes and follow up, I acknowledge what flavor ice cream they got. So maybe I'll say, oh, I hope you enjoyed your banana pudding milkshake. And people have asked me, like, how did you know? Well, I knew because of this. So here's the door prize entry form. You never have to verbally ask for a referral when you use this form. And this form came from Toral Chauffeur White. It's been edited, but she's the one who first presented this to us. And it's simple. It asks for name, phone number, email, and if there's any referrals. But at the bottom, you'll notice a list of questions where we ask for to see if people are interested in buying or selling, but also if they're interested in the services or products of our sponsors. And so that's how we get business for ourselves and for our sponsors. And those you can change them according to whichever sponsors that you have. You can add them to the list. So our next thing is going to be follow-up. So follow-up, it can be time consuming because these people are going to answer their phones, right? Because they like you, they know you, they trust you. And you're going to use the door prize entry form to follow up. If they say they want to be connected to somebody, connect them. Call them, thank them for coming, and then say, oh, I noticed that you said you were interested in finding somebody to put in a wood fence. Great, I know somebody. I will connect you to them. And then so what I do, if I have the information available, I will connect them via email. And I'll say, hey, Bob, meet Dan. Dan puts in fences, wood fences, you know, maybe he can help you with the fence that you'd like to build. And I'll say, you can contact him by email or by phone. And here's his phone number. So then everybody has the contact information of the other person. It isn't just me saying like, hey, just so you know, I gave somebody your name the other day. So it makes that referral a little bit more valuable and, you know, goes through a couple steps of qualification by the time it gets to the person receiving the referral, if that makes sense. So, so you'll want to call your people who attended, but then call the people who RSVP'd and couldn't make it and let them know, be like, sorry, we missed you, and we hope to see you at the next event, and we hope everything is okay. So a couple of tips and tricks. One, invite everybody because everyone's not going to show up. Then don't overthink your event. Keep it simple, keep it inexpensive, keep it basic. People will enjoy themselves and then they will talk about it and then they'll come back next year. And then the last thing I have for you is a simple challenge, and that is to take the first step in planning your event. And so do it now. Take this action from today's session and start planning your event. So whether your event is going to take place in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter. I want you to email me at my address, which is on the screen. I want you to email me your event, the date, the time, the venue, and the sponsors. I don't need their exact names, but just tell me which sponsors you think would be interested in sponsoring your event. I hope one of them is a photographer. And then what is your charity of choice and what will you be collecting? So that is my challenge to you. It's simple. And you guys can feel free to reach out anytime. I have more information on this milkshake event for a presentation I did that was twice as long, but that I'd be happy to share, and I have a sponsorship form that I'd be willing to share as well. And then, of course, I'm always available to answer any questions that I didn't cover in the presentation or respond to in the chat box. So thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you could have gone to many other great sessions, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. Enjoy the rest of the event.